The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
Hey, what up, YouTube fam? It's Dupree, aka Darth Hater, here with some fresh, brand new Star Wars news for you. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and also don't forget to check out my last video, because it greatly helps out the channel. So let's get into it. So Den of Geek came out with their list of the best Sith Lords ranks. This is going to be a list of canon and non-canon, aka legends, Sith Lords. This is going to be a little bit all around the place. Though the Sith may keep their numbers small out of choice, the necessity depending on which time period you're looking at, they still managed to be the ultimate enemy of the Jedi for millennia. In fact, there have been many powerful Sith Lords throughout the galaxy's history, both in current canon and Legends timeline, that have changed and defeated the Guardians of the Peace throughout Star Wars history. With the Acolyte offering another perspective on the Sith Master and Apprentice dynamic, it seems like a great time to look back on the most powerful Sith Lords in Star Wars universe, both the most well-known villains from canon as well as the classic baddies from the non-canon Legends continuity. So here's the Den of Geek ranking for the very best Sith Lords that have appeared in Star Wars. So at number 12, we have Count Dooku. Like many of his Sith predecessors, Count Dooku was a former Jedi who left the Order after becoming disillusioned with their practices. He turned to the dark side and became an apprentice of Palpatine after Darth Maul's apparent death. But despite his turn, Dooku maintained a lot of the patience of his Jedi studies, making him a formidable opponent for the Jedi during the Clone Wars, even a highly skilled Jedi like Yoda. Rather than being woefully brash and passionate with his anger and hatred, Dooku was often cold and calculated. He knew when to push on and when to retreat. He was such a thorn in the Jedi side that they even came up with a plan to assassinate him in the novel Dark Disciple using Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress. At number 11, we have Darth Zana. As an apprentice to Sith Master Darth Bane in the Legend canon, Darth Zana was the first Sith to officially succeed her master under the newly established Rule of Two. Her approach to succession, however, was a lot more nuanced than some of the others on this list. She had several opportunities throughout her training where Darth Bane was weakened, and even on his deathbed, where she could have easily taken him out or taken his place, but she knew she still had a lot to learn. So she helped him heal, and then she waited. By the time Zana was ready to succeed her master, the two had a deep respect and understanding of each other rather than stabbing him in the back or slitting his throat in sleep. They dueled properly as Bane had intended, a true test to see whether the student had become the master, and Zana succeeded. Not only was she incredibly adept at wielding a lightsaber, but she also was a powerful Sith sorceress. One of her many talents included the ability to conjure tendrils made out of dark side influence black mist that could disintegrate flesh and bone on contact. Number 10, we have Darth Plagueis. Often referred to as Darth Plagueis the Wise, Darth Plagueis was obsessed with trying to achieve true immortality, a passion he shared with his apprentice Darth Sidious, aka Palpatine. Plagueis eventually developed the ability to manipulate midichlorians to create life and prolong it to an extent. This ability fueled his research alongside Palpatine for years until his apprentice decided to take the work for himself. It is also believed that Plagueis had the ability to foresight, though that clearly didn't stop him from facing the same fate as many other Sith Lords before him and dying at the hands of his apprentice in his sleep. Outside of his research and prolonging life, Plagueis was also incredibly adept at using the Force to end life as well. In Legends canon, he created a Force wave so powerful that it atomized 6 of his opponents instantly. At number 9, we have the Stranger. While a bunch of the Stranger and his past still remain a mystery, he's already proven himself to be a pretty powerful Sith Lord and Acolyte. He mowed down an entire team of Jedi with the ease on Kofar with both his lightsaber skills and his force wielding capabilities. He was able to force throw his lightsaber like boomerangs while fighting Sol and Brendok, and his arms are so thick that he was able to break a guy's neck without the force. But that's besides the point. Add to the fact that he does the majority of his fighting without sight while wearing a Century Deprivation helmet, and the Stranger is one hell of a force to be reckoned with. His design is also pretty cool too. This is all on top of the fact that the Stranger has shown that he's just as gifted as distinguishing himself from deceiving even the Jedi. The Sith Lord could very well be a master of deceit, a much more important skill to have than the lightsaber abilities when you're outnumbered by hundreds of Jedi across the galaxy. Number 8, Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus serves as the Dark Lord of the Sith and the true Umbret of Darth Sion and Darth Traya, in aftermath of the Jedi Civil War and the classic Legends timeline video game Knights of the Old Republic 2 Sith Lords. Not only was Darth Nihilus an incredibly skilled fighter, but an injury from mass shadow generator superweapon left him with Ravager's need to consume energy in order to stay alive. That's why he could sense force-sensitive people and planets throughout the galaxy. He was drawn to them like a moth to flame. Once he got close enough, he could kill any and everything connected to the Force, absorbing their energy to sustain him until the next feeding. He could eat entire planets this way. Nihilus had the ability to cut off lifeform's connection to the Force using his power to portray his former master and fellow Dark Lord Darth Traya, the very person who taught him how to feed his insatiable hunger. So in a sense, this was Star Wars' Galactus. At number 7, we have Darth Sion. Darth Traya's other apprentice and fellow primitive member, Darth Sion, was so set on achieving immortality that by the end of his life, he was essentially a walking corpse, fueled solely by anger, hatred, and pain. Using those emotions to keep himself alive despite his heavily scarred and decaying flesh, Sion was essentially unkillable. He became so driven by pain that he sought out combat in an effort to finally achieve death. But that only seemed to keep him going until he became little more than a sadistic, angry living corpse. At number 6, we have Darth Traya. Formerly Jedi Master Kriya, Darth Traya was one of the most powerful Sith Lords in Legends Canon, and a clear inspiration for Kamiri, the Stranger, and the Acolyte. As a Jedi, Kriya became so bitter and disillusioned with the Force hold over the galaxy that she came to believe that the galaxy would be better off without the Force entirely. Obviously, her dreams never came to pass, but it's interesting to see the Force wielder of any kind ready to denounce the source of their power, especially the Sith. Even while hiding her true identity as a Sith Lord in the game, Kriya feels every now and again giving into the dark side when she needs to take out anyone stands in the way of her plans, especially Darth Sion and Darth Nihilus, the apprentices who betrayed her. When she does tap into the Force again later in the game, she can use it to perform a variety of tricks and manipulations to both terrify and brutally defeat her opponents. She also has the ability to view shatter points or incredibly important moments in the future. Essentially, what makes Traya such a worthy Sith Lord is how she manipulated all those around her, including an enclave of Jedi who paid the ultimate price at her hand, and schooled her former apprentices when she decided to get back into the Sith game. All part of the plan to wage war on the Force itself. That's some long-term and ambitious thinking. Number 5, we have Darth Revan. Darth Revan was a former Jedi of the Old Republic who played a pivotal role during the Mandalorian Wars and the Jedi Civil War. Throughout, till he appears in other Legends canon stories, Revan is most likely recognizable as the lead playable character in the video game Knights of the Old Republic, and as a major character in the later Old Republic expansions. Though the game does not see him lose his memories at the hand of the Jedi and become a Republic officer for them once again, it does not diminish his power he has. If anything, being able to tap into both the light and the dark side makes him even more powerful. As a Jedi, he was almost single-handedly responsible for the Republic's victory in the Mandalorian Wars and the defeat of Mandalore the Ultimate in one-on-one combat, taking his helmet for himself in the aftermath. Though these two sides of Revan eventually leave his mind fractured, his connection to the dark side is so great that he's able to stay alive for centuries as his body is fueled by pure hatred. But his legacy lives even longer than he does, with Darth Bane's plan for the rule of 2 coming from a Sith hologram that Revan leaves behind. At number 4, we come to Darth Bane. A Sith Lord from the final days of a massive war between the Jedi and the Sith, Darth Bane is often credited with creating the rule of 2 for the Sith. After the numbers were completely decimated by both the Jedi from within due to infighting, Bane took it upon himself to restructure how the Sith operate in hopes of continuing their war against the Jedi in secret. His creation of the Rule of 2 into the grand plan for the Sith that would see them slowly corrupt the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order from the inside over generations until the Sith ruled the galaxy again. Though it took centuries for his plan to come to fruition, Bane's wherewithal to realize that the Sith needed restructuring in order to survive proves that he had patience and dedication needed to keep their beliefs alive. As many of the Sith Lords on this list have proven, being powerful is not just how hard and angry you can swing your lightsaber, it also is about having resolve and patience to play the long game. because even though he died at the hands of his apprentice long before he could see the Sith victorious with his own eyes, his plan was ultimately successful. At number 3, we finally come to the one and only Darth Maul. Once Darth Sidious's former apprentice, Darth Maul was presumed to be dead before the Clone Wars even began. His skill with the double-bladed lightsaber, not quite enough to stop him from being cut in half by Obi-Wan Kenobi in The Phantom Menace. However, somehow Darth Maul returned in the Clone Wars animated series, surviving his lethal injury and fall through sheer will and rage. Though he did lose his mind for a bit beforehand, he was still somehow able to gather enough strength to fuse his torso with spider legs fashioned out of scrap and keep himself alive in the garbage pits he fell into. Eventually, his mind and body were healed mostly by Night Sisters on his home planet of Dathomir, and he set out on a warpath to take down the Sith Lord who had abandoned and replaced him. Maul went rogue during the Clone Wars, establishing his own galactic crime ring in the underworld and using it to claim the planet Mandalore for himself at a time. If that's not the ultimate comeback story, we don't know what is. Number 2, we finally come to Emperor Palpatine. Emperor Palpatine's goals weren't necessarily any different than any other Sith Lords on this list, but he is the only one who truly succeeded in taking over the galaxy, all while nearly wiping out every Jedi in the galaxy, something that the Sith had been trying to do for centuries. More impressive is that he hid in plain sight from even the most powerful Jedi Masters for decades, all while holding the most powerful political position in the Republic. Even after his eventual defeat and the Return of the Jedi, he managed to find a way to bring himself back from the dead, even if it wasn't to his full power. Despite his weakened clone form that was unable to physically leave Exegol, he was able to corrupt Ben Solo just as he did with his grandfather and turn him to the dark side. The Jedi may have not been able to totally wipe out the existence of Palpatine, but in the current Star Wars timeline, they have yet to return to their former numbers in the aftermath of his reign of terror, and that will forever be a part of his legacy. And number 1, if you didn't know, Darth Vader. Anakin Skywalker's turn to the dark side is truly one of Emperor Palpatine's greatest achievements as a Sith Lord, turning one of the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy into a vessel of violent anger and hatred. But even though Palpatine is responsible for creating Darth Vader, thereafter is of his own creation. It doesn't take long for Darth Vader to become a terrifying mythical force of darkness, all in his own in the aftermath of Revenge of the Sith, with many across the galaxy fearing his wrath. With all the power of Anakin and none of the compassion, Vader becomes the swift and deadly arm of the Empire, striking down any and everyone who stands in his way. So there we have it, the list of the best Sith Lords from the canon and Legends content. Personally, I would have also included Darth Malgus and Darth Malak in this, but that's just me. I'll make another list of my own sometime a little later. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Did this list of the top Sith Lords align with yours? Who would you have subtracted? Who would you have added? Or who would you have shifted for the top spots? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you guys like this video, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell to get notifications for my latest videos. That would be great. Anyway, guys, take care. See you in the next one. May the Force be with you.